it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and welcome to my studio. I am showing you some more quilts that I had worked on in the past. This is one of those beginning quilt-alongs that I did on Flickr. We learned how to sew the strip sets together and how to cut them up. Of course, mine is just pure scrappy goodness. I just took whatever I had. This is when I learned that the 1/4" seam is important, and just because they tell you to cut your square at 8.5, you needed to look and see how wide your strip sets were and then cut it square that way. Just don't cut everything at 8.5 because that's what they told you to do. So I learned not to always go directly by what someone tells you to do in a pattern, to double check what is happening for you and to make adjustments as needed. So this is a lap size quilt. Just has a sheet on the back. Looks like 2 different colors right here joined in. And I think this quilt is perfectly fine and I really like it. It has a nice thin batting in it. I think the only thing that really throws it is this backing here. So I was thinking, if you have a quilt like this that you're just not fond of the backing, nobody says you can't just go ahead and you have a couple options. You can, I guess you could always just take it all the way apart. The quilting on this one is minimal, just a few straight lines, but I would just go ahead and put a new backing right on top of this. You can remove the binding, or you can just do some type of a stitch and flip where you put the backing right sides together with the front, leave an opening, turn it around, and just stitch it on. I think taking the binding off is a good option, especially since this is hand stitched on the back, so that would only be, taking it off the front would be the hardest part. The back would be super easy. But again, if someone's over at your house and they're just hanging out and they're cold, this is going to keep them warm. No matter what the back looks like, you just don't have to look at it. So here's the Winnie the Pooh fabric. Always had that red, white, and blue I was trying to use up. This is when I was going super scrappy and I didn't really pay much attention to keeping things coordinated or making them look color nice or how everything worked together. I was still learning all about that. Here's one of the Schnibbles we worked on. I love this design. These fabrics are really pretty. Here's the start of my batik love. So these were all just meant to be wall hangings. And on the back it was a white sheet that I was practicing on how to dye with Rit dye. So it is now purple. I even have some purple speckles on it. And I just used this interesting color pink for the binding. Bunch of free motion quilting. I free motion quilted the inside and then I did the border a little bit different. So again, while all of these aren't my colors, I really am not a fan of this right here. I love the inside and I would definitely make any one of these Schnibbles quilts again. I sold most of my patterns, which is kind of a shame because I thought I'd never make them again. I was always more of a, you make it once and you're done, but I really do like these, so I wouldn't mind making them again. I thought this would be a fun little quilt for a baby boy or girl, anyone who is into pirates and sharks. So you have the nice fun, I'm going to call it a row panel because all the rows are about the same and they can come into one large panel. And on the back I used this fun island fabric with the sharks everywhere, Treasure Island. This is a bit wide and not as tall, so that's a bit interesting, but it would still work for a play mat on the floor for babies to crawl around on. So you can always find a use for your quilts. Even if you made them a weird size or you don't think anyone's gonna like them, these can be used in a variety of ways. Now we're gonna get into some of the smaller quilts that I've made. I know I showed you some wall hangings, but some of these are even smaller. This is when I learned how to use the apple core die from the AccuQuilt Go cutter. I believe this is the Thimbleberries fabric. I had a pack of maybe fat quarters or fat eighths or chunks of something that I bought in a mystery box. So this was in it. And again, this is not my style of fabric, but I think it is really pretty fabric. I think it has some nice little designs. Reminds me of 30s fabric with more of a golden colorway to it, where the 30s has more of a white background. This seems more of an orangey color, rusty. So there is the back, and I used, see, I machine stitched the binding down, but I found that I'm actually good at sewing curves. Who knew? I couldn't line up sashings for a long time, but I could sew curves. I think the AccuQuilt Go makes it so much easier because it has little notches on the end points and the outer points there to make it easy to line everything up. If you've been with me for a while, you'll have seen these placemats. Now, if you're interested in any of these quilts that I show, please just email me. My email's down below in the description box, RsIslandCrafts@gmail.com. I don't have these in my Etsy shop, but if anything you're interested in, just take a little picture of, pause the video and take a little snapshot of it or a screenshot. Email me so I know which one you're talking about. But I made these, and I think most, if not all of these, or some of these are made with polyester batting. And I was showing you a different way to use up some of your calculator strips. So I made a red, white, and blue placemat set. So they are coordinating, if not necessarily matching. I think only one of them have polyester, and after that I switched over to the cotton because I didn't like the polyester. You can see all of my free motion quilting. So actually it shows within the last 4 years that I did still have some free motion quilting skills. I just lost it along the way. Some straight line quilting. I wanted to have the quilting be part of the placemat. So if you have a placemat or a small sewing machine, you could put this down, or a little side table or something like that. I previously showed you the Halloween Hexies where I embroidered in the center. Well, I made a lot of Halloween Hexies. So I made this table runner with some boo fabric on the back, and you can see that I did the right sides together with the backing in the front, stitch it all the way around, cut in the curves, and just leave all of the Hexie goodness along there. I have some Halloween Hexie, not Christmas stockings, but Halloween stockings because they're Halloween fabric made out of the same Hexies. I told you I made a lot. I also have one that says boo for a table topper. That is somewhere also. This is when I was really having a really good time making Hexies. I loved stitching Hexies and pentagons, and it was very relaxing to do. I did it every time Rob had to go to the doctor's appointments. So it gave me something to do while sitting there waiting forever. Oh, this was part of when I was trying to do 12 finishes a year. So I don't remember when I did this, but I actually finished it. A little snowman, and I made it out of the Hexie gutter from the Go. So this one says Joy, and it has a snowflake cut out of the Joy and everywhere. Look at the snowman, he's got a little scarf. And this was a twin set. So this one is in blue, and this one says Believe. Getting those words, I remember, was a lot of work. And look, the scarf even is 3D. Oh, this guy is too. So that's fun. If you wash it, it'll fray. And they both have this nice backing with this gold shimmer thread that's running through it. There, you can see it there. So those were really fun to make. Sometimes when I was making things, I was making one for me and one for my art fire shop. But since I wasn't really well known back then, and there was people reading my blog, but not enough, and everyone was all about Etsy, so nobody wanted to go to the art fire shop. So while I sold a lot of things, I didn't sell a lot of things. But it was still fun to make. My friend Barb from Bejeweled Barb Pretty sure that's what it is. I'll see if I can find if she still has a shop. Otherwise, I can link to her blog. She has some patterns for sale in various places in the past, but I don't know about now. But she had these hearts that you would put into a round. She had a round table in her dining room. So there was that. And I used this type of blue fabric and blue and white on the back. I didn't want to do bias binding, so I did the stitch and flip for this one also, but I really loved working on that. And one of the projects that I did from the hearts that were cut out is I just made this little mini. So it's the same fabric, of course. It's the centers from here, and there's the hearts. Put them together. This is my favorite blue background. It is the same one that you can see up here on Papa Smurf. I love this blue from Joann, so the same fabric on the back, and I 100% cheated and did a stitch and flip, no binding on this guy, and it's just quilted around the hearts, so stitching it down, I appliqued the hearts down to the blue, and then I quilted them afterwards. In one of those surprise packages that I bought, there was just some of this fabric. It was left over from a quilt I put together. So I just made a little skinny table runner, or maybe up on a fireplace mantle or a side table behind a sofa is what I was thinking. Again, you guys know this is not my colors, but I know someone will love them. Machine stitched binding down. It looks like they were some form of log cabins or something, disappearing log cabins. I don't know, disappearing 9 patches would be more. Our last one for today comes from this book, Kim Schaefer's Calendar Quilts. I love this book. I've only made a couple wall hangings out of it, and they're all basically made the same way. You have a border of squares, and then you put something in the center based on that month. And I'm pretty sure this is September. I don't have anything on it, but I did use these little ABC ruler type things for the back. Looks like I did a fun little type of buttonhole, something similar for the binding. I have one hanging up that has bees and their little, I know it's not a beehive, it has some special name, but most people call it a beehive. So I had a really good time making these. I think I've only made 2 or 3. This one has the chalkboard. Some people put actual chalkboard fabric back here so that they could write something on it, like, I don't know, September 2022 or something like that, and hang it up when they took pictures for their kids. If anyone's interested, here are all of the quilts. So I have made this one and this one. We were doing a monthly thing, but everyone kind of stopped and they didn't get very far. I really loved the one with the rain boots, and I thought the watermelon with the ants was fun. And of course, I like Halloween. So in case you want to look for that one, I imagine you can find it somewhere still. I don't know if it's actually in print, but it's fun. It has some nice fun little wall hangings. So your scrappy word for today is apple. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and come on back and see some more quilts.